Hello and welcome. Namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India projects real GDP growth for financial year 25-26 at 7.4% against a growth rate of 6.5% during the previous financial year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets a New Year greetings call from his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. They reaffirmed their shared resolve to fight terrorism with greater determination. And US President Donald Trump discusses options including military action to take over Greenland. Denmark warns the move will destroy the NATO alliance. India on Wednesday projected economic growth of 7.4% in fiscal 25-26, that is FY26, underscoring resilience in Asia's third largest economy even as global growth slows. The data released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation on Wednesday, including the gross domestic product or GDP growth projections as part of the first advanced estimates, will undergo revision through the year. The data also revealed that real gross value added or GVA is expected to expand by 7.3% in financial year 26, up from 6.4% in the previous financial year. The economy continued to expand at a faster than anticipated rate in July to September quarter, with GDP growth rising to a 6-quarter high of 8.2% on the back of near double-digit growth in the services sector. The manufacturing sector too has clocked its fastest pace of expansion in 6 quarters. And joining us now to take a deeper dive into the numbers is my colleague and host of DD India's weekly show, The Economic Brief, Mark Lin. Well, hi Mark, despite Donald Trump's tariffs and other disruptive moves, Venezuela included, also the unresolved conflict in Ukraine, how does India still remain in this, as it's being called, the Goldilocks zone?
Indeed, India continues to remain in the Goldilocks zone, Gautam, because of strong policies by the government over the last year, perhaps, and even before that, which has shielded the Indian economy from a lot of the turbulence that is taking place around the world, or actually, sort of put the Indian economy in a position where it can handle this kind of turbulence a lot better. We can see the results also in the figures that have come out. Especially in services, India is growing at 9.9% expected in the services sector. India is largely a services-driven economy now, and this we can see is a result of a lot that has happened because of the government's digitalization of the financial sector. We can see greater financial inclusion has taken place, sectoral resilience has increased, and this has led to stronger domestic demand. And we've seen that stronger domestic demand really has helped the Indian producers, manufacturers to actually to produce for the local market itself, which has led to sufficient growth within the local market. And that has also led to exports increasing because of trade diversification and finding new routes. So the Goldilocks zone is a result largely of India's policy positions.
Okay, and flexibility as well, it seems. Now, how do these latest estimates help the finance minister in terms of annual budget preps on budgets due on the 1st of Feb?
Indeed. So obviously, this is good news for the finance minister because she will be in a position to see where she can raise revenues from, and she can estimate how much the revenue side of the budget will be because of the growth. The growth to GDP ratio is, I beg your pardon, the GDP to tax ratio is a very important factor to figure out how you can raise your revenues. So this is an important aspect for her. She will also be looking at which sectors are not doing so well, where the government would need to give a certain boost. So let's say even though we can see that agriculture and the primary sector has grown at about 3.1%, that one would look at as low, but you have to understand the number of people involved in the sector, and how much help it requires to sort of sustain itself in a sense from the government. And this would be another area where she would be looking at, I'm sure, in this budget. Apart from that, let's say that there is obviously private consumption needs to also continue to sustain their growth. We see that domestic demand is what's driving the Indian economy. So maybe that's an area where she will be looking at again quite closely, so that India can be shielded, as we said, from these global headwinds.
All right. And what kind of other challenges and opportunities are emerging on the horizon, which India will need to navigate to continue or even take its growth momentum in the 8% and plus zone?
So we have to see that what's happening is there is larger protectionism taking place across the world. Globalization, though, has had its advantages because of the disruptions in trade over the last year and a half. We are seeing that there is a rise in protectionism, which is moving economies more insular. But as I was saying in my first answer, India has navigated that to some extent. It has increased, and there has been resilience in various sectors, as we can see. That would be one of the areas which will continue. India cannot continue to be, insulated from this kind of turbulence for long. India has to participate in the global economy. It has to look for new avenues. We are seeing this in trade diversification. India is making every effort to diversify the trade basket with new FTAs, with agreements that are, opening our markets to goods that are coming in from elsewhere, and also making, a majority of our goods available to external markets at very low rates of duty. So as a result, that India is very competitive. India should be in a position to this access to market should help India to develop its own resilience in terms of production capacity.
Right, right. And of course, the FTAs, crucial ones have been inked, and even more crucial ones are in the pipeline, not to just mention EU and the US, but others as well. And apart from that, the latest, of course, is oil prices going down as well, projected to go down further into 2027 too. Do you think that will also be a big help for India?
That should help India a great deal, because India, as we know, is a large consumer of oil. We are not a producer, but we are a large refiner of oil. So when we look at the oil market, it consists of various components. And India, being a large refiner of oil, could also have the advantages of refining oil when prices are reasonably high, because the higher product also helps the Indian market. But consumption of oil at India it requires, of course, because we need to get the crude, the raw material. That is indeed something that India will benefit, obviously, to a great extent when prices go down. But India obviously will also be looking to try and increase its purchases from Russia, as it did over the years, and we can see that with the new disruptions that are taking place in the world, perhaps these are opportunities for India, really, as far as crude is concerned.
Okay. Well, so again, being nimble will be key to ensuring that this growth momentum is maintained, because a lot of uncertainty still persists overall globally. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Mark Lane. Now, India's clean mobility transition has got a major policy boost. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, along with the leading city gas distribution entities, has announced the launch of a landmark study on comparative assessment of vehicular fuels in India's energy transition. The study will be conducted by TERI, which will evaluate EVs, natural gas, petrol and diesel across technical, environmental and economic parameters.
Only thing we can do is, first of all, guide them what is cleaner, how to go about it, what is the advantage, and somewhere also suggest to the government for the policy decision, because ultimately it is not just air pollution. Air pollution is connected to your and my health. So I have to look at the health burden as well. I have to look at the road infrastructure, because if it prevents congestion, then also the emissions are going to reduce.
Air quality in urban centers continues to challenge policy makers and administrators. Now we have CGD bid out across the country, and almost 1.4 lakh crore rupees has been invested by GAIL and other pipeline entities as well as the CGD people. So we are driving that agenda, setting up of more CNG stations.
Prime Minister Modi has spoken to his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. The PM received a telephone call from Netanyahu on Wednesday. The two leaders warmly exchanged New Year greetings and wished the people of both the nations peace and prosperity. They identified shared priorities to further strengthen the India-Israel strategic partnership in the year ahead, guided by shared democratic values, deep mutual trust and a forward-looking vision. They reiterated their zero-tolerance approach towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations and reaffirmed their commitment to fight this menace. Also, Prime Minister Netanyahu briefed the Indian leader on the implementation of the Gaza peace plan. Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's consistent support for efforts towards a just and durable peace in the region. They also exchanged views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. The two leaders agreed to remain in touch. And during a press conference in Luxembourg, Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister, termed India's relationship with Pakistan an exception due to Islamabad's long-standing and open support for terrorism.
For us, the relationship with Pakistan is exceptional, because if you look at the world, I mean, forget for a moment this is, our region. Show me in the world in this day and age any country which actually has pursued the kind of policies which Pakistan has against its neighbor. That for decades, you've had these training camps, not secret training camps, they're all training camps in the big cities of Pakistan, very open, where the state, the military supports terrorism, and they've tried to normalize it as though it's their right to do it. Nobody buys it anymore. Everybody knows that these are people who have supported the state. Now, that is also, it's a very unpalatable reality, but it's one which, we cannot sort of be oblivious to. We have to build our policies saying, okay, that's how that particular neighbor is going to be. So, those who are far more, willing to work with us and be helpful, positive, we'll have to deal with them in that way. Those who do the kind of things which Pakistan does, we'll have to deal with it in a different way.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Wednesday met with Prime Minister of Liechtenstein, Brigitte Haas. The two leaders discussed strengthening economic and investment ties with a focus on the India-EFTA-TEPA to boost investment flows, manufacturing growth and job creation, resulting in mutual prosperity of both the nations. They also exchanged views on cooperation in industry-academia linkages. Minister Goyal also met Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Liechtenstein, Sabine Mononi. Both discussed opportunities for trade expansion, innovation and clean tech, and explored ways to deepen mutually beneficial ties, especially after the operationalization of the India-EFTA-TEPA. And earlier, the Indian minister called on hereditary Prince Aloy in Liechtenstein. He handed over a letter from Prime Minister Modi inviting Prince Aloy to attend India AI Impact Summit, which will be held in New Delhi in February this year. A memorial lecture remembering Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha was held in Delhi on Wednesday. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan paid rich tributes to the former Vice Chief of Army Staff. He also spoke on the nature of modern warfare and emphasized the need for scholared officers in the armed forces.
Today, as warfare grows increasingly complex, spanning space, cyber, information, and the cognitive domain, the need for scholar soldiers and thinking generals is far more than before. Today, even the basic building blocks
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Ukraine Zelensky meets with Cyprus counterpart in Nicosia as the Mediterranean island formally assumes the rotating presidency of the European Union. And the ICC T20 World Cup trophy is put on display at a Bodh Stupa in Nepal's Kathmandu.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the White House on Tuesday said that US President Trump is discussing options, including military action, to take control of Greenland. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority for Trump to counter Russia and China. The statement further added that President Trump and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal. Utilizing US military is always an option. After the US military captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro last weekend, Trump now wants to gain control of Greenland. And this has triggered sharp reactions all across Europe, deepening tensions within the North Atlantic Treaty Alliance or NATO. Denmark has warned any move to take Greenland by force would mean everything would stop, including NATO and 80 years of close transatlantic security links. Allies, including France and Germany, are working closely on a plan on how to respond should the United States act on its threat to take over Greenland. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot on Wednesday said that he believed the US was committed to NATO, but he suggested European leaders were prepared to strike back against potential US intimidation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Cyprus's President Nikos Christodoulidis in Nicosia as the Mediterranean island formally assumes the rotating presidency of the European Union. Zelensky will also later hold talks with EU Commission President and European Council President before attending a ceremony to mark the start of the EU presidency. During the meeting, Zelensky said that during Cyprus's presidency, a lot of steps could be taken forward closer to Ukraine membership in the EU. Russian President Vladimir Putin attended an Orthodox Christmas service on Wednesday using the religious occasion to praise Russian troops. Appearing at the St. George Victory Bearer Church near Moscow, Putin framed the war in Ukraine as a sacred duty to defend the nation. Putin's appearance comes as Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine approaches its fourth year. The Russian leader has attended Orthodox Christmas services regularly since the year 2000. Members of Saudi-backed Presidential Council, including Council Chairman Rashad Al-Alimi in Riyadh, held a meeting in Riyadh on Wednesday to discuss the latest developments in Yemen. Southern separatists said on Wednesday that their leader, Aidarus al-Zubaydi, was in the port city of Aden after he skipped a flight to Riyadh for talks on a crisis that caused a major feud between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Hours after its leader's unexplained absence, the Southern Transitional Council said he was in Aden overseeing military and security operations while it had lost contact with its delegation in Riyadh. 1 year ago on this day, Los Angeles witnessed the most destructive wildfires in its history. Fanned by high winds, flames swept through homes and businesses in the Pacific Palisades and in Pasadena, turning entire neighborhoods to ash. As smoke filled the air and fires spread rapidly, residents were forced to flee their homes. According to a study, the wildfires contributed to at least 440 deaths from the 7th of January to the 1st of February in Los Angeles County. Crowds gathered in Saint-Tropez in France on Wednesday for the funeral of French cinema icon Brigitte Bardot, who died last month at the age of 91. Her coffin, covered in orange and yellow flowers, was carried into a church. Bardot rose to fame in her 20s, becoming a symbol of 1950s French femininity. The reason for her death has also now been disclosed. It's said to be cancer. Japan is celebrating 30 years of its iconic digital pet with a special Tamagotchi exhibition in Tokyo. The virtual pets, a 1990s playground craze, continued to charm nostalgic parents and retro-loving fans. The exhibition also attracted many young visitors eager to experience the 90s nostalgia. Paris turned white on Wednesday as heavy snowfall hit the city on the third day of a rare frosty spell, causing train delays and traffic jams. French weather agency Météo France issued orange warnings for 32 northern departments, while rail operator SNCF announced scheduled disruptions nationwide. Locals call the snowfall extremely rare. Let's get you some sporting updates as well. The ICC T20 World Cup trophy was displayed for public viewing in Kathmandu today. The trophy, which is on tour of Nepal, was kept at the Bodh Stupa, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel said that the advent of the trophy in Nepal was a proud moment for the country. President Paudel expressed gratitude to the International Cricket Council, noting that the visit has significantly boosted enthusiasm among cricket fans. Rohit Paudel will lead the 15-member Nepal squad in the World Cup, which will be held in India and Sri Lanka next month. Jacob Bethel slammed a maiden Test century as England built a tenuous 119-run lead against Australia to leave the fifth and final Ashes Test on a knife's edge in Sydney. The tourists were 302 runs for the loss of 8 wickets, with Bethel not out at 142 and Matthew Potts yet to score at stumps on day 4. 22-year-old Bethel saved the day after Zach Crawley and veteran Joe Root fell cheaply, powering to his 100 in style of 162 balls. But wickets stumbled around him, with Harry Brook and Will Jacks removed in the space of 3 balls by Bo Webster after Bethel reached a handmark. England are desperate for another morale-boosting win after victory in the previous Test at Melbourne. Australia leads 3-1 and have already retained the Ashes trophy. Coco Gauff pulled off a double duty to drag defending champions, the United States, into the United Cup semi-finals in Perth. Fourth-ranked Gauff secured a 6-3, 6-2 win, overcoming Maria Sakkari of Greece. But Stefanos Tsitsipas brought Greece level by defeating Taylor Fritz 6-4, 7-5. In the deciding mixed doubles, Gauff teamed up with Kristen Harrison to battle past Tsitsipas and Sakkari. Poland will now play hosts Australia, with the winner facing the United States for a place in Sunday's final. The Mixed Team United Cup features 18 teams and serves as build-up towards the Australian Open, which starts on the 18th of this month. Wednesday marks the 59th birth anniversary of Indian actor Irrfan Khan. One of Indian cinema's finest actors, Irrfan Khan carved a unique space for himself with performances which were subtle, powerful and deeply human. From parallel cinema to Hollywood, his work crossed borders and touched audiences worldwide. As we remember the actor and his remarkable journey, here's a look at the life, legacy and lasting impact of Irrfan Khan. Dipanshu Kashyap with this report.
One of Indian cinema's most distinctive and internationally respected actors, Irrfan Khan was known for his quiet intensity, emotional depth and an ability to bring extraordinary realism to ordinary lives. Across Indian, British and American cinema, his performances stood apart for their restraint and honesty, making him a rare artist whose work transcended language and political borders. Born Sahibzade Irrfan Ali Khan on January 7, 1967 in Jaipur, Rajasthan, he came from a Pashto-speaking Muslim family. A talented cricketer in his youth, Irrfan was selected for the CK Naidu tournament but could not attend due to lack of funds. It proved to be a turning point in his life that led him towards acting. In 1984, he earned a scholarship to the National School of Drama in New Delhi. After early struggles, which included nearly a decade in television, his film career began with a small role in Salaam Bombay. Acclaimed performances in The Warrior, Hasil and Maqbool cemented his place as one of the best actors in India. His other notable movies include Life in a Metro, Pan Singh Tomar, The Lunchbox, Hindi Medium, Talwar and Haider. International recognition followed with films such as The Namesake, Slumdog Millionaire, Life of Pi and The Amazing Spider-Man. His honors include National Film Award for the Best Actor for Pan Singh Tomar, multiple Filmfare Awards and Padma Shri in 2011. Diagnosed with a neuroendocrine tumor in 2018, Irrfan continued to act with quiet grace and courage. He made his final appearances in Karwan and Angrezi Medium before passing away on April 29, 2020 at the age of 53, leaving behind a legacy of performances that continue to move, challenge and inspire. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
Irrfan Khan, the star who will always shine in all our hearts. Now that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. And from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.